Hey everyone, welcome to the episode. So Ask Aram flips the script. One Step Beyond podcast guests and listeners submit their questions and ask Aram anything. Questions can be music, life stories, business, leadership, advice, how to make the best vegan omelet, you name it. Aram will unpack your questions and leave you with info you can apply. Before we get to it, please rate, review, and subscribe.
Greetings, Aram and the Cadence Leadership and Communication team. There's two parts to my question. First, Aram, what was your favorite album of the year? And second part is, by being both a therapist and a coach, when is it appropriate for a business to seek out coaching, and when is it appropriate for a business to be seeking out counseling?
These are tough questions. First, thanks, Christian. You are such a wonderful person and an incredible professional. And I just encourage people to check out Christian Monk's website and his services because he's just an amazing individual and great at what he does. My favorite record would be Praise, All in a Dream on Revelation Records. The reason why is that record is it's their second proper full length. Well, maybe the last one is a full length. Let's just say it's their third full length. And the progression of sound in Praise has just been phenomenal. They are an incredible band. Their writing chops are unbelievable. You can't, it's unquestionable of what great musicians they are. The ethical base of the band is very strong. They're just really like punk people. They're from the punk scene. The lyrics are phenomenal. The delivery of the vocals is incredible. The recording's great. The execution of the art is fantastic. The marketing of the record was like, the record got in front of you, but it didn't feel like corny marketing. And I just feel it's such an honest and true record that also is perfectly supported by the visual of it. Even when they're playing, like everything about it is just honest, heartfelt, highest level of integrity. So Praise, All in a Dream on Revelation Records. And of course, a huge shout out to Rev as well. Incredible record label. I'm very proud of the way they've done that label, and huge love to all of them as well. So when should a company use coaching versus when should they use counseling? So a company should use counseling and people with a therapeutic background when they're dealing with mental health and cultural concerns that are connected to mental health. They should use coaching when they are focused on the development of people and leaders and culture. So let me unpack that. Things around culture and around mental health concerns, I see a lot of coaches and facilitators get involved with that don't have a therapeutic background. And I don't want to say that's wrong at all, but I would say something like, for example, if we're thinking about things like diversity and inclusion and equity, there is a skill set around that, an ability skill set around that I think a lot of facilitators who have a background in those areas, so people of color or people from traditionally marginalized groups, absolutely, they can 100%, they should be at the front line of doing that work. And there is also a whole psychology that's baked into how can an organization really make good on promises around things like diversity, equity, and inclusion. So it's one thing to have programs that come in and say, hey, this is how we should do it. But there's another piece where from a cultural perspective, there's a lot of psychology involved in helping people understand their biases that they have, actually creating real change. And the thing that I'd say is we can educate people and people could agree, but that doesn't mean they understand the psychology of their own blind spots and the prejudice that can still exist. I believe that someone with a therapeutic background and even just like a straight up therapist can come in and help organizations take that extra step of meaningful change by working around the psychology of it. So it's not just about like the education, the skill set building, it's about the psychology of making that transition. Then when it comes to mental health around organizations, I get a little concerned when I see organizations, like coaching organizations, getting too into this space unless they have proper therapists on their roster. And the reason is, it's like anyone can talk about, like, conceptually about how to have strong mental health in an organization. Mental health is such an important conversation, and realistically it's like still emerging within the business world. Like, yes, like companies talk about like, oh, mental health awareness, but let's be real, there's a difference between awareness and like creating actionable steps within an organization that help people maintain strong mental health. And I also want to say is that build a space where it's like, I think organizations should strive that people with all sorts of different standings in their mental health should be able to work in an organization. So I would love it if organizations could have the depth of skill and ability and knowledge where someone who lives with schizophrenia could work there and could maintain strong employment, or people who have who live with bipolar, or people who live with borderline personality disorder. For me, the end goal for organizations would be that they would become so skilled and have such strong resources that we could pull across a true talent pool. And a true talent pool isn't someone who's like perfect physical health, perfect mental health, who fits just within this proper demographic of person. It should really be like, the top talent to me across the board would be people who have different kinds of, who have different levels of mental health, but their creativity and their ability to do things is so strong that we should build in that structure of saying like, hey, as you have concerns around your mental health, we can support you with that so that you can come in and be really like, bring us all your talents and all your ideas. And that idea of like top talent and people being really creative, it's so segmented into this tiny little corner of people that present as having strong mental health. And you know what? A lot of those people, I think, are just like kind of holding that down during the interview process. So I think that coaching is very, very effective when we're talking about developing people, and we're talking about building skill sets. We're talking about like helping organizations develop strong culture, all of that. However, I think therapists and therapeutic practice is around helping organizations around really understanding their blind spots, really understanding the psychology of change, and then also like building out a system that can accommodate all sorts of different kinds of mental, of people living with different mental health concerns, so that we actually can say, when we're saying we would get the best and brightest, we're actually doing that because we can bring in 100%, we can look at 100% of the population and say we could actually bring in people from all sorts of different parts of the population, even those who have been traditionally marginalized. And so that would be my answer to that very difficult question, but thank you.
We want to hear from you, our audience. To submit your questions, send us a message, drop us a DM, or comment on our social channels.